Hey, what's up everybody? Chad is here, and today we are going to go over the theories that are circulating around Robert Downey Jr. being Doctor Doom in the MCU. Now, there's two very distinct stories that people are like pointing to right now. One would be infamous Iron Man in the sense that Doctor Doom was basically filling in for Iron Man or pretending to be Iron Man for a while because this was when Tony Stark was dead and there was no one who could be Iron Man and he thought the world needed an Iron Man. And another one is this story called Iron Man, Demon in an Armor. So Demon in an Armor is a what if story. It took place in a different universe. It's not like the main universe events that happened. And what happened in that story is basically Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom switched bodies, right? Like they switched bodies. So Victor Von Doom, he was essentially jealous of Tony Stark because Tony Stark was pretty much just as smart as Victor was, but he was more carefree, right? Like he enjoyed himself more. Like he was very much just like he is in the main universe, right? Like he's super smart, but he's also sometimes reckless and less focused than everyone else, even though he's just as smart as all of them. So Doctor Doom, he envied that, right? Like he had to focus and work way harder than Tony Stark did to even get to the same spot that he's at, right? So Victor, he actually started working on this machine, right? And what he was doing with this machine is he went to Tony Stark and he told him it was a telekinetic machine, right? Like it would give people the ability to move things with their mind, right? So he tricked Tony Stark into helping him with this machine, and after it was all said and done, Tony Stark actually he volunteered himself to be the one who this gets used on because like it gives him the telekinetic abilities. He would be able to do stuff with that. He wanted the adrenaline, the rush of doing risky things again, right? So with that happening, Tony Stark, he gets locked in the chair, and Victor, he actually goes in and hooks himself up to it after he reveals what this machine actually was. Essentially switches their mental energy. So Victor would be in the body of Tony Stark, and Tony would be in the body of Victor Von Doom. So with this happening, it sent Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom's mind. I'm just gonna call him Victor because he's in Doctor Doom's body, and I'm gonna call Victor Von Doom Tony Stark because he's in Tony Stark's body. It sent Victor down this spiral, right? Like he lost everything that he had, all the things that he had when he was Tony, like his company, his dad, and all his wealth, different things like that. He lost all of that, right? So eventually he found himself in Latveria. No money, no anything, right? He had to work himself back up to being the person that he was, right? Like he went to college, he got his doctorates, all that different stuff as Victor, right? So this whole time his memory was wiped. He doesn't know that he used to be Tony Stark, right? Like he really thinks that he is Victor. He thinks he's Victor Von Doom. And while this whole thing is going on, Tony is out in America doing his thing, right? Like he's taking over different places, expanding his empire, coveting all his power, doing all these different things that Tony Stark could have been doing had he stayed in his original position. But it wasn't in Tony Stark to do that, right? Like he doesn't care about having power, he just wants to have fun. So with all that happening, one thing that Tony realizes is with his company, a lot of his profits are being funneled to a different source, right? He realizes that's in Latveria, right? Like Tony Stark in Victor's body in Latveria, he's going to work, right? Like all these different inventions that he's making, all these different things that he's doing, he's essentially, I wouldn't say taken over the country, but he has made it better, right? Like he's enhanced the economy of and honestly just the lifestyle of everyone in Latveria. So with that happening, he ends up making his arc reactor, just like he did when he was actually Iron Man, Tony Stark. He made this arc reactor, and that energy source is essentially, I'm not going to say bankrupting Victor in America, but it's definitely taking away a lot of his profits that he should be making. So what Victor does is he gets this, or what Tony does is he gets this idea to go to Latveria and steal the arc reactor, right? Like he wants to steal the arc reactor, learn how it works, modify it, use it, essentially to boost his company's profits back up. So with that happening, he goes to Latveria, and he's actually met with Tony Stark, right? Because Tony Stark, they both made their own suits, right? Like Tony Stark made a rescue suit, which essentially looks just like Doctor Doom's suit from when he was actually Doctor Doom, and Victor made an Iron Man suit. It's green and it's essentially just like an Iron Man suit would look, right? So they fight it out, and eventually, or Victor actually hacks into Tony's Iron Man suit, and he ends up pulling off the win, right? So with that happening, Tony goes to jail, and Victor, he's just out doing his thing, right? So a lot of people are thinking, like they're theorizing that this is going to be the case in the MCU. I do not. I don't think that that's how that's gonna work, right? Like, I honestly don't think that that's gonna be. I don't think that Tony Stark or Doctor Doom is gonna be a variant of Tony Stark, right? Like, I think he's just gonna be his own person who's gonna show up and essentially cause like nostalgia feels to the rest of the cast of the movies. Like, you know, they're gonna see him and be like, oh, hey, Tony Stark, where you been, bud? You know, stuff like that, right? Like, we thought you were dead, you know, things like that. But it's very likely that it could, but it's also very likely that it couldn't, right? Like, I don't think that they're gonna go with that way of having Doctor Doom. Or the theory that I have for Doctor Doom being considered, which is a very important word, considered, the only Doom in the universe, is because back in the day there was actually an amazing Fantastic Four story, and what happened in this story was Reed Richards, you know, he made this bridge, and what this bridge does was it let him go through the universe, right? Like, he could go through the universe and do all these different things, and he was trying to figure out the answer to everything. Like, he wanted the answers to all the things that he could imagine possible. So with that happening, he goes through the bridge once, and he ends up meeting this council of Reeds, right? Like, it's just a huge group of all these different Reed Richards, right? Like, all throughout the multiverse, every single one of these Reeds, they left their family, they all just left their universes and came here. So what they're doing is they're essentially figuring out the problems to everything, and what they're doing is they're figuring out, you know, like, they're solving hunger in all these different universes. They're genuinely making these universes better. But one thing that they were also doing was they were taking every single Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom, that they could find, and they were lobotomizing him and sending him, like, sticking every single one of them down into a basement and basically just letting them sit there, right? Like, they literally couldn't do anything. They couldn't think for themselves. They were just sitting down there just like chanting Doom this whole time. So with that happening, and he actually comes back after that and like just straight up massacres some of the Council of Reeds, the actual main Doctor Doom. That story was so good. I'm gonna get to that story eventually, but for right now we're just talking about this. So that's one of the reasons. I honestly think that one's actually pretty plausible. I think that one's a very good chance of that one happening. So if you have your own theories, you know, drop them down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and I will see y'all in the next one.